We often wish for miracles in life, but understandably feel disappointed when our hopes and dreams don't materialize. It can be easy to fall into indifference, hopelessness, or despair when we're met with roadblocks over and over again. Yet I've found that, even in those low spots when we feel as if we'll never bring our dreams to life, the shining light of hope and faith can help us move forward toward the goals that bring us greater love and purpose. Is it possible to manifest that which we truly desire? Today, we'll focus on this listener's real life question. I feel like giving up. I've had two dreams that I can't make happen no matter what I do. I've wanted to open my own bakery and become a mother, but here I am at almost 40 and I don't have a child and I'm stuck in a job that's boring. I'm grateful for what I have, but I want my dreams to come true. Is it wrong to want more? Should I just be happy with what I have? And with those questions as the focus of today's episode, I'm Dr. Carla Manly, and this is Imperfect Love.
Welcome to Imperfect Love with Dr. Carla Manly, psychologist, author, and relationship expert. I'm here to help unravel mysteries and misconceptions about love, relationships, and mental health issues, plus everything in between. Love is complicated, people are not perfect, and relationships surely can be tough. Together, we'll navigate this messy, imperfect space of real life.
Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Julia Griffin, who will be sharing her expertise on self-fulfillment, self-love, and manifesting. Welcome to the podcast, Julia. It's so lovely to have you with us today.
I'm so happy to be with you, and those are great questions.
So, before we launch into the listeners' questions, could you tell us a little bit about what makes you you?
Yes, let's start with I've always had a great love for literature and art, but also nature. And I met real wolves, and I could immediately start to hear what they were saying the same way we're talking. I became very intuitive, and I learned from the work that I was doing that the dreams that matter come from our heart or our soul. And that's something that we have to distinguish with. The other thing is that specific imagery, thoughts, and learning to really hone your consciousness in on what you want to manifest, that's the way to do it. I was a stay-at-home mom when I met the wolves. I started writing for a metaphysical magazine while I had a job. Then people wanted animal readings. I did that. Then I worked for a chiropractor in Atlanta, and as I was doing the animal readings, everyone's back just popped into place when I cleared their animals because we're all in one unified field, right? So then I started doing people, and I guess I've done thousands of people since then.
Okay, wow. So, for our listeners who might not know what you mean when you say the animal within us or an animal reading, or could you give us a little clarification on what that means?
Sure. All right. Animal reading is I read your animal. Most animals are pretty happy, but I have a dog here right now, and our thoughts come together sometimes harmoniously, sometimes not harmoniously. When people's pets have problems, it's usually because they want to live a different way with their owners that's more harmonious for them and their owners. So when I would clear them, I would visualize and feel energy that would block their problems, so to speak. When I was doing that for a chiropractor, because you and your pet share the same energy field, oddly enough, the people would get well from the work on their animal. So after doing this for a while, everyone I was reading for wanted me to read for them. And then we found out that that was even a bigger thing and how much people's lives can change from that kind of help, which I had no idea any of this was ever going to happen.
Isn't that amazing? And it's so interesting for our listeners who might be saying, okay, this is wackadoodle. This doesn't make any sense. It's interesting. Research shows that when we live with a human partner, that of course it doesn't anyone who's lived with somebody who's moody or whatever, or somebody who's very optimistic, they will absolutely say, oh yeah, my partner's moods affect me, or my daughter's temper tantrums affect me, or my husband's alcoholism affects me. Whatever it is, we are definitely affected by those in our environment. And I imagine that many tension headaches and that sort of thing, somebody being a pain in the neck. I imagine, when I really believe in the body, mind, spirit connection, that of course it makes sense that our animals, who I have my giant schnauzer, he's in my office almost all of the time, and absolutely his energy is very calming and soothing for me. And I know my energy is very calming and soothing for him. So it makes sense that when we are in harmony with those around us, the people, the animals, and if we pause to learn, I believe my doggy is one of my greatest teachers. Like, hey, it's time to just take a little nap, and I'm not a big napper, and that sort of thing. So that makes sense. Now, how can we, let's take a moment and just dive into the listener's question just for a minute. With what this listener is saying, it sounds to me as if they are in a job where they're feeling stuck. This person's almost 40, or I think she said 40, and no baby yet. And she's feeling hopeless, like, hey, I guess I should just give up my dream of a bakery. And it sounds like a really fun dream to have. So, what might you just say to her as a starting point of what she might be able to do?
The first thing I would say is why not volunteer at a bakery or get a part-time job at a bakery? I worked part-time for 2 years before I quit and started doing what I'm doing now. I would also say, before you go to bed at night, imagine that you're in a bakery. You're going to wake up and go to work in the morning, because when you keep saying to yourself, I want to work in a bakery, but I'm stuck in a job, you become even more stuck in it, because that's the energy that you're putting out. I would also say go to the very best bakeries you can find, and order something and tell yourself, soon I'll be working in a bakery like this. You're not making up stories, you're resonating with a similar energy. And as far as a baby, you still have some time. And if you don't, you might marry someone with a small child who's been looking for someone exactly like you.
Absolutely. And I think so. Let's start. I love the bakery ideas, and then we'll save the child as a little bit of part two. But I love how you're saying two things. Get your energy moving, get in the flow, go to a bakery, imagine yourself the one that you really want to be part of, and imagine yourself doing that. Eat some of the food that's, yeah, I want to be making this. I want to have a hand in this. And then the other piece is to go to bed at night dreaming about that. And it's so lovely because as we're going to bed, I'm a firm believer that how the state we're in when we're going to bed, it's going to stay with us in our dreams. It's going to be there. And so you're saying approach it from two levels, I'm hearing you say. One from a very practical level of go out and start opening the physical doors. Get the and I love that you're bringing that up, because some people think that manifesting means I'm going to do a vision board, I'm going to write it down, and then I'm going to go on my back to my boring job or to my bad relationship, and the universe will take care of it. You're saying, if I'm hearing you right, no, we need to do some work on our own to get that energy flowing. And you were calling it sort of a resonance,
A
something.
resonance, because everything has a vibration. If we're looking at the colors in the rainbow, we see they're all white light, but we see them differently because of their vibration, frequency, and resonance. So when you're doing something that you resonate with, that takes you there. When I started writing for a metaphysical magazine, I had been reading it online, and I kept thinking, gosh, I wish I could work for a place like this. And then they had a thing that said writers wanted. And I was like, oh my God, I'll write, I'll ask. I never thought I won't get it. And it was like within an hour, they said, send one article. I did, and they hired me. And I met all these incredible people from that over a period of 5 or 6 years. Now, I did that at night. So, you folks who, if you're listening and you say you don't have time, I had two kids and I worked a full-time job. And I stayed up late at night and I caught up on Saturdays or I wrote on the weekend.
This is such a good point. I have been in exactly the same boat as you. I was in a career that was not my calling. And to get my doctorate, to build on my master's I had earned before, I really had to work a full-time job in a field that I didn't like, do my schooling at night on weekends, and go to the classes, do all of that. It was incredibly tiring, incredibly rewarding, I must say. And also, then when it came time for the internship, and I remember this, I was thinking, how am I going to do my internship? Where is there a nighttime internship for someone in the field of psychology? And especially for someone with kiddos and a full-time job in another field. And if the universe didn't pop it in my face, and it ended up being paid, and many internships aren't, but it was because I put myself out there that I was willing to do it. I was moving toward my dreams, not staying in the stuck dead end job, but moving as you did. When we do that little bit of faith and hope, like, okay, I'm willing to risk it. I'll be wise about this. I'm not going to jump off a cliff and expect someone to catch me. I will be able to do some jumping, but knowing that I'm participating in how and where I'm jumping. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because lots of people say I quit my job and nothing happened. I'm thinking, well, yeah, I'm not surprised. You didn't develop any skills or do anything to get yourself there. And then doing this time because I wanted to communicate with animals, I knew people who had a barn with a lot of horses, and I would go over and read their horses for them. Same thing with people who bred dogs or had a lot of cats. And I demonstrated that I could do it for a long time before I charged.
Okay, you brought up a really good point, and it's something that I see with many of my clients. And I have to say, it's a piece of my own past, but I got through it. But I'd like your point on this. For many people who start following their dreams, they don't see, because it's something they love to do. Yeah, they're happy to charge, $20 an hour to serve coffee or whatever they're doing. But when it comes time to charging for that beautiful loaf of bread they made, or that portrait they took, or that reading they did for someone, it's like, I can't charge this because, it's not really a job. It's just my passion. I shouldn't charge because it's a work of love, not a work necessarily in the capitalistic realm of fee for service. What would you say? If you had to, how would you encourage someone to push through that piece of being able to charge?
Well, it was
What
clear to me I needed clients. So when my friend in Atlanta had me there, we agreed on how much I would charge people, what she thought people would pay for a mini reading. And so then I thought, that was only about 10 minutes. So if it's 30 minutes, then I'll make it this price. But I think one thing to figure out what you can charge is what do you believe you're comfortable with? Because it was very long ago, but I started with 50, went up to 100, and then just kind of kept going.
did you have trouble with feeling like your services were valuable at the beginning, or didn't go through that
I
struggle?
think everybody has like an amount in their head that they think it's worth, and you have to continually push past that, would be my take on that, and
Okay, so
decide that you're worth more.
believe in your worth, believe that the world needs that service, wants that service. And in this case, this individual's bakery, her baked goods, to go and maybe do some volunteer work in a bakery or a part-time job in the bakery, maybe also start making some baked goods.
That you could sell at a flea market. I mean, I'm a really great cooker and baker, but I don't always have time to make those things. And I would love to be able to find them somewhere and buy them and eat them.
Absolutely, at a farmer's market okay, so we're letting her know that maybe the door isn't going to open hugely and give her a bakery that's ready to go and fully stocked, and there she walks and opens it up. Maybe this is a baby step process, as most of life is, where she can get her feet wet, so to speak, work, see how see how the system works, see how complicated it might be. Not that we don't want to do it just because it's complicated, but see the inner workings of a bakery, the long hours, the joys, the highs, the lows. Okay. So you're saying, if I'm hearing you right, for our listeners, that in order to manifest, they must also be willing to truly participate in whatever they want. It's not going to come to them necessarily. They need to come to it to breathe into whatever it is their dream would be.
Find your opportunities. If the door opens, maybe the door is already open a crack. Maybe this person has a wonderful farmer's market where they can sell things. Put your foot through the door. Don't just say, if I imagine this longer, the door will open. Now, very deep meditation and very deep visualization will help with that. But you have to practice meditating and visualizing for a couple years to be that good.
Okay. And you would say for someone who's starting meditating and visualizing what they want with their dreams, that starts with perhaps just being in bed at night. And as you go to sleep, imagining that beautiful bakery, what it looks like, what products you would have in it, if you would have employees, that sort of thing. And that's a good way to get started.
What it feels like to unlock the door, how the floor feels under your feet. Notice the shininess on the table. Think about how you can't wait to get in there and bake.
Okay, there we have it. So when we look, I'm just thinking for a minute, there's not the world's biggest movie buff, but there's one called Stranger Than Fiction, where the woman has this bakery. And indeed, her baking started when she was in law school. And I think she wasn't very good at law school or very interested in law school, but she was a very good baker and should bring the treats for everyone. And it was years later where whatever happened, she opened this absolutely charming bakery. So it does, I believe, happen in real life. You're evidence of that. I'm evidence of that. Many of my clients are evidence of that. So we can give her some hope. And the other thing that I thought of, that we don't want to underestimate that boring day job. Because if she is indeed in a boring day job, that means that perhaps it's below her energy level, below her intelligence level, perhaps, which means she will have extra energy at the end of the day to invest in and be aware that that paycheck that she's getting, that might be the seed money for this.
Oh, I never could have written or done the things that I did if I hadn't had the boring job.
Me as well. So those boring jobs sometimes, or challenging jobs, or difficult jobs,
Hmm.
they sometimes, there's a reason we're in them, and
And I think
there's
there's a line that you cross. There's a day you wake up and you say, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep trying until I create another life.
I'm with you on that. Been there, done that. So glad that there is that place where you need to believe. There's almost a wake up call where you say, this is it. This less than purpose filled life, this less than
Right.
love filled life. I'm done. I'm going to move on. It's going to take time because I have to lay a nice new foundation, but I can do it. And when we give that message to ourselves and to others, that's how we build a world full of passionate, purpose filled, love filled people.
Hmm.
Okay, so Julia, let's move to her desire to have a child. And you said that perhaps there are other ways. We're not giving up hope that she can have her own child,
Right.
but
Of
you're
course not.
also opening the door to, I don't know why IVF, or
Hmm.
what the permutations are behind the scenes, but there are so many other ways to have children, even if they're not they're your own blood. And so, what would you encourage her to do as far as not giving up hope, but also exploring other opportunities?
Right. I'm going to say, because this keeps coming to me, it's possible for her to meet someone who has a small child, who wishes for someone who would like to be a mother for that child. There's certainly children that need to be adopted. And then they say in metaphysics, anything you want to have, get that energy on you. So hang out with babies, hang out with small children, um, volunteer to babysit. And while you're doing it, think about what that would feel like to you. And it's still not too late to have a baby at all now. I mean, she has almost a whole nother decade.
And I love that you're again bringing us back to that part of you have to put yourself in the environment, because the more we are in the environment, the energy of that which we are wishing for. Do you want to grow a garden? Well, you don't necessarily want to be just staying in the middle of a hot desert. You might want to go and visit a nursery where you see the plants and the kinds you want. The minute we put ourselves out there, which can be scary, and into that environment, and sometimes when we do that, we realize by doing that, we actually don't want what we thought we wanted.
Mhm. I've
And
had
so
that experience too.
I have too, where you do it, you put your foot in and you go, "Oh, I'm really glad I put my foot in because no, this wouldn't be right for me. No, I don't
It's
want to."
something wonderful, but it's not an energetic match.
Exactly. And I think of that with snow skiing. As much as I love snow skiing, that's not the first place I'm going to go because I get cold so easily,
Right.
right?
I have the
So
same problem.
yes. So why pursue something that you're not going to like thoroughly enjoy? Instead, pursue something. So for her, it may be that she really starts, as you're saying, maybe it's something with a partner who has a small child, who is, truly wanting a mama, needing a mama. So we want to continue to open our doors. Now, what would you say when hopelessness, despair, indifference, despondency, gloominess set in? How can we deal with that when our doors just keep shutting? It doesn't feel good.
Right. Everybody has that sometimes. I have had it too. The thing is that I know if I keep meditating, if I keep thinking about all the good things in life, like we've all had it. Everybody's had a day that they felt wonderfully loved. Everybody's had at least one day that they felt successful. Then there are these days where we just feel like we're one with the universe and how beautiful the planet is. I mean, we have an upcoming eclipse. I went to that with my daughter, and it was like I was just like stunned by the beauty of it. I was up in the mountains in a lake. Still am. The earth turns herself on and off. The sun turns itself on and off. I mean, my gosh, what a planet. Those kinds of experiences. Do you want to have more of those? Or do you want to have the ones where you feel like there's nothing there and nothing is ever going to work? It's your choice.
Such a beautiful point that our thoughts, we often think that we are at the mercy of our thoughts. And we want to remember that our thoughts are the product of what we're leaning into. And if we choose, and we sometimes can't stop that negative thought
I
popping in
know.
and saying, you're never going to amount to much. Oh, you're not worthy. We do have the power to say, hey, I'm not talking to you today. I don't want that thought here. I want this thought that tells me I am amazing. I am wonderful. I'm here to do good in the world. And those might sound like overly optimistic thoughts or overly self love and fulfillment thoughts, but I'm game for those. I love those because that's what energizes me. That's what can energize us when we believe that whatever we're doing is good. It's a force for good. My goodness, you think about walking into a bakery, yeah? And what a delightful experience that can be. You smell the bread, you see the love, you see the people connecting. Oh my goodness, what a great calling. You look at a mom who's truly happy doing what she's doing, and you see her tending to her kiddo or the dad tending to the kiddo, and it's like, oh my God, it's the most magnificent thing in the world to see an attuned parent. So, whatever it is that we're doing, when we're really breathing into it with passion and love, I believe that's our calling, and we can make that come true because I believe the universe, the divine, whatever you want to call it, does want more people on the planet doing good for themselves and the world.
Yeah, and for those of you who need a scientific background with this, Lynn McTaggart wrote a book called The Field that science actually documents that there's a universal force that wants everyone to have what they want that makes them happy and everyone to be happy and well.
Okay, I can hear some listeners saying, well, I wanted that Corvette to show up or that Aston Martin or that eight-story house, whatever it is they want. And that's not happening. That's what I want. So why is the universe getting in the way of that? I have a feeling that's not quite what you're talking about.
No, because I can honestly say I loved my ex-husband. I wanted our relationship to work probably more than anything else, but I had to face that it wasn't. And if I hadn't gotten a divorce and had two children to take care of on my own, I never would have accomplished all these things. I'm not going to say wish denied. I'm going to say wish was not in alignment with my soul path.
And I've taken a look at your Facebook page, and it is so filled with uplifting messages and where you're giving people hope and connection and support. And I think that when we're talking about the universe wants to give us what we want, I don't think it necessarily means what we want on the physical plane.
Certainly
I
not all the time.
Yeah, I think that sometimes those wishes that are denied are some of the smartest. Because sometimes if some of those wishes if everyone, had exactly what they wished for in an instant, that genie wish, I think the world would be a scary place because there are
It
a lot of
would
people
be.
who would make wishes that are not good for them, for the planet, for their families, whatever. And so I think, again, when you're talking about the universe wanting for us, I think we can see from the state of the world today that when we're not in alignment with what's truly good for us and truly good for the planet, we end up with environmental disaster, mental health issues that are skyrocketing, kiddos that aren't happy and feeling safe and secure on the planet. So we can see where when we are not in alignment with what you call the one true self, that's your
Right.
Facebook page, that we can be a force against what is good for us and a
Yeah.
force against what is good for the world.
Oh,
But
and I would have sworn I will be the most perfectly happy person in the universe if he would just change my husband universe. And then finally it hit me, that's not going to happen. That's not your path. Move on, girl.
yes, and sometimes we do need to, in all aspects of life, close a door and close it slowly and gently, when possible. But sometimes I've had to do that too, and it can be painful.
Oh,
Sometimes
it's really hard. I don't want to say
oh,
it was
yeah.
easy or anything like that.
No, I believe that when we really love someone, closing a door, whether it's a partner, whether it's, a toxic family member, whatever it is, closing those doors can sometimes be some of the most painful things. But when we close the door to something that is not right for us and do the work to pay attention to the right doors that are opening, because doors will keep opening. Some of them are right, some of them aren't right.
That's it.
And we really have to become more discerning consumers of the future,
Right.
the moment that makes the future. Oh my goodness. Julia, you have offered such sage advice for our listener, the question of the day, and I imagine for all of our listeners. And I think it might be fun just for us to pause for a minute and think, just as a little bit of practice, because you've talked about visualizing and meditating,
Sure.
and for us just to think for a moment about something in our lives where we feel blocked and visualize what that might look like. So, for example, if you're really tired at work and you're not getting replenished, you might do a simple visualization tonight saying, I would love to wake up feeling as if I've spent the evening under, a sky of beautiful stars glittering and soft ocean sounds and whatever it is. I believe that when we do simple visualizations like that, today, tonight, throughout the day, it can really help replenish us. And what do you think of that as just a simple spot for our listeners just to
Well,
feel?
we've already proven that most athletes visualize winning a race or winning, most Olympic athletes will visualize that.
I
They
didn't know
teach them to
that.
visualize. Yeah. And
Oh,
it does improve performance tremendously. So instead of just thinking like tomorrow is better, I would see myself at 9 having more energy, 12, 3, 6, 9. Just a quick vision of that. Like, wow, I've just got so much energy. I feel great. Everything is going so well. This is wonderful. That kind of thing.
I love that. It's a very pragmatic tip. And I know when something resonates with me because I just find myself taking a natural deep breath in and deep breath out. When you did that, I just went, Ah, that feels
Mhm.
right. So we don't need to make visualization or meditation complex or unachievable. I'm a big believer that you can do seated meditation, but also do a moving meditation when I'm doing yoga or walking or gardening or petting my pup. And even cuddling with my partner, I can be in a really meditative place. So, what do you think about those alternative forms as opposed to the traditional seated Zen type of meditation?
I do a lot of meditation when I'm washing the dishes and cleaning the kitchen, to be honest. I do it when I'm walking around and doing things. Now, I like to sit and really focus on my big dreams, but you can imagine that there's no traffic. You can imagine that you go really quickly through the grocery line. And if you're wondering why I'm making a big deal out of this, it's because you're training your mind and your energy to tap into what's in alignment with you.
I love that you say that, and I love how you make it so simple, so achievable, and not mysterious. Because you're right, when we just pause and put our energy into something we want rather than something we don't want, and
Hmm.
even think about it. I'm with you. Some of my greatest meditative time is when I'm vacuuming the floor, or using a regular broom. There's just something about those strokes and the back and forth. And many people don't like cleaning and tidying up. I love it. I love it. It's so soothing. And so we all get to find those unique ways. For some people, it's the shower, the bath, whatever it is. Find the ways in your life, the places in your life where you feel calm and where you can bring up this positive, hope-filled, generous energy. Does that sound right?
Yeah, because it's that generous energy that makes your dreams come true. The other thing I do that's just easy is just do breathing exercises when you're driving. Like breathe in for 7, hold for 7, breathe out for 7. Just so you're not feeling like the jostling of energy around you.
That's a lovely I'm a big fan of breathing exercises. In fact, my first book, Joy from Fear, I think I outline maybe 6 or 7 different ones, and that 7-part breathing is a good one where it's 7 in, hold 7, 7 out. How many rounds of that would you recommend that somebody do?
Well, my parents lived a good ways away, like one 4 hours, one 5 hours. So the first place that I would stop in the car was an hour away. So I would actually do it for that whole first hour and then do it again when I got bored, which didn't
Okay.
take long.
Okay. And so even maybe 3 sets for someone who's not used to it, or 1
Yeah,
set.
one
It
is fine. Just
one's
start with
fine.
something. It doesn't matter where you start, just start.
Just I love that you've said that. It doesn't matter where you start, just start. That is so profoundly simple and beautiful. And I think, too, we don't want to underestimate in our really stress-filled, anxiety-filled world that just a simple deep breath in, deep breath out can reset your nervous system.
I do that
It
all the time with clients. They'll say, I'm just so anxious. And I'll say, let's just breathe together for 3 minutes.
Yes. And it is funny. I know I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, honey, stop for a sec. Deep breath in, deep breath out. He'll do it and he'll giggle and and it's a love. And I do it for myself. I'll find myself racing to go nowhere, right? I'm like, no, wait a second. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And it's a fun way for us to reset. And then, as you're saying, we can even tie that moment to a visualization. I love that. I'm gonna work on that. So when I do that deep breath in, deep breath out, then I'm gonna visualize a more fluid afternoon or a more, gentle evening or whatever it is. We can start doing more of this visualization because you make it so simple. I love how you've made it.
Well, this is what I say is it's simple, but you have to be disciplined with your practice. It's very simple. It's not hard. And with the breath, for people who are anxious, because I do this myself, when you get your breath down, you can feel that your voice actually starts to come from your chest and your throat chakra. And it's up here when you're nervous. Like, I don't know, when are we going to go? I'm fine. Who cares?
And for someone who doesn't know the throat chakra, Julia was pointing to more where the Adam's apple is and even just a little bit below that. And so you'll want to realize that that place that's our voice, also the manifestation of our thoughts, so to speak, our voice. So thank you. Anything else for our listeners today, Julia, before we wrap up?
I really think that there is this most beautiful, amazing energy, and that if you'll let it in, it will change the whole flow of your life, and you will see life very differently. And you'll see the same beautiful life and the same beautiful world that I see and share with others. And that's sort of my world vision. That's why the beautiful things are on Facebook. It's enough if we can just go there. You want to help the world? Do that because other people will feel it.
Absolutely. And never underestimate, listeners. We're not talking that you have to do something huge. We are saying whatever you do that's good, that's loving, that's kind, a smile, a hug, a well-made baked good. Oh my goodness. You have the power to change your day and that of someone else. We never know. Just that lonely person. I ran into someone the other day who I see him walking in the mornings, and he was walking with his wife for years. And then he told me one day she had cancer. And then I saw him last week and she wasn't with him. And I said, "Oh, where's, so and so?" And he said, "Oh, she passed away yesterday." And I didn't even think twice. But I just hugged him. I've never hugged him before. And he just melted in my arms. And he said, "Thank you so much. I really needed that." And so, not that we necessarily want to hug people without their permission, but in this case, it did seem appropriate and he welcomed it, thank goodness. And so we can realize that the simple actions of a smile, a gentle, "How are you?" looking in someone's eyes, and uh, any act of kindness that you can do, one act of kindness at a time, we can certainly make the world a better place. Thank you, Julia. Where can our listeners find you?
You can find my website, onetrueself.com, ONE, trueself.com.
And you're also Facebook, the same name.
Facebook. Oh, no, on Facebook, you can find me, Julia B. Griffin 9. Why 9? I don't know. But that's where I post a lot of pretty things and uplifting things.
Okay. So again, I thank you and our listeners for the time today. It has been truly a joy and a privilege. Be well.
It was a joy for me. Namaste. I bow
Na-
before the divine in you.
Namaste. And thank you. This is Imperfect Love.
Thanks so much for sharing your time with me today. Remember, you have the power to transform your life and love fearlessly, if imperfectly, and it's my privilege to help you along the way. You can find more life-changing content, including my books and other podcast episodes, at drcarlamanly.com. Feel free to submit your own confidential questions through my website. I'll do my very best to include your issue on a future episode. If you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe and leave a review. Until we connect again, this is Dr. Carla Manly wishing you oceans of blessings and love. Please note, this podcast is psychoeducational in nature and is not intended to replace formal mental health support. Please contact your healthcare provider or emergency hotline if you need psychiatric care. And as always, please take good care of your amazing, wonderful self.